two big wins, including an absolute smashing of the Mavs and, well, maybe a little bit of a theft job versus the Wolves. Plus, oh boy, Nikola Jokic is good. This is Locked On Nuggets. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Nuggets. I'm your host, Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network and the Nuggets insider for 104.3 The Fan in Denver. He is Adam Mares. He is the director of content for DNVR, thednvr.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam_Mares. We are world's finest. This is your recap of the Nuggets. Just a wild pair of wins in very different ways. Great back-to-back set Thursday and Friday. It's really funny to me that they lost the first set of the back-to-backs and they won both ends of the second back-to-back. Adam, first, I want to ask you, how was your Halloween?
Man, my Halloween was good. So as some people may or may not know, I moved into a new neighborhood. And here's the thing. I think it's all like a bunch of new houses. So everybody's new. I think everybody's trying to one-up or impress everybody in the neighborhood tonight. Bags were being given out. I've never gone to a house where somebody gave away a bag with like 20 pieces of candy at one house. Somebody gave away an action figure. I've never seen anything like it. For whatever reason, people were just like going all out on Halloween. It was unbelievable. So it was good.
That's wild. I've carved 5 pumpkins, so feeling pretty good about my carving skills. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Nuggets your first listen each and every day. We're free and we're available on all platforms, including YouTube, where if you look very closely, you can catch the faint outline of eyeliner as I had on some eye makeup on for my costume of the Grim Reaper tonight and was unable to get it off because I don't wear a lot of makeup. So check out the YouTube page and subscribe if you want to catch that awesome visage. Plus, Adam's got actually like a backdrop up. He's actually got like his studio situation set up in his new house. So you can check that out on YouTube. Please rate, review, subscribe, follow, star, copy, check mark, whatever it is that you do on various apps. Thanks so much for being along. Okay, on today's show, first segment, we'll talk about the Mavs annihilation. Second one, we'll talk about the absolute theft job versus the Wolves, where they just like Ocean's 11 to win somehow. Third segment, we're going to do lightning round on the weekend performance from those teams. So let's get started with the win over the Dallas Mavericks on Friday night. I was in the building. I have a lot of thoughts on Dallas. I feel like I have to share elsewhere. Right. I have many things to say about the Dallas Mavericks. But like starting point, look, I think the biggest thing with the Dallas win is I continue to be pretty impressed by the Nuggets half-court defense. Like they actually, like they really are pretty locked in, and it's netting a lot of really good results. I think that was a lot of it. The staggering of the starters was like absolutely the answer. And there's oftentimes one of the biggest criticisms of not just Malone, but pretty much every coach in the NBA is like, why aren't his rotations more creative?
Right.
And a lot of it is
he has a style.
Well, I also say this. I try to explain that, like, in my experience, teams players want to know, like, you start here, you come out roughly around the 6-minute mark, you go back in to start the second quarter, you come out at the 8-minute mark, you come back in at the 4-minute mark, like whatever it is, like you want like a rhythm because you're doing this each and every single day. And so you want it to be consistent. Like for instance, Malone was really haphazard with his rotation back in like 2016, because that was the whole thing is they didn't have anybody that was better or worse than anybody else. They just had guys. So they were like trying to like,
well, I don't remember 2016 well enough to say yes or no, but I will say that it has been a thing of the Nuggets under Malone for the last 4 years, where the starting 5 plays way more minutes than most teams' starting 5, which is to say that they like to play more geared towards hockey lineups than some teams. George Karl, for example, famously would start a defensive specialist, bring him out after about 6 minutes, and then not play him again until the third quarter. It was just like coaches have styles that they just like with rotations. Malone's style has been every year for the last 4 that the starters tend to play a lot of minutes together. There's a little bit of staggering, and then the bench plays minutes together. And I do think that Malone is going to have to go away from it. I think one of the reasons that he kind of stuck with it for as long as he did, not the main reason, maybe not, and definitely not the only reason, but one of the reasons is I think he just likes that. He's comfortable with it, and it's his personal preference. But I think to his credit, he realized that this is not going to work with this specific group, and that's why these last two games we've seen the stagger.
Yeah, one of the things that I try and say is, like, why wouldn't you just play these guys with the bench unit more? I think the cost that people don't realize is, from a coaching perspective, again, this is just in my experience, because like other coaches have said this. I asked Frank Vogel about it one time with the Pacers, and he was like, if I stagger more, I get fewer minutes with my five guys together.
Your best punch.
You want now, one of the things I think that's probably helps the Nuggets is that your best five, as long as one of those five is Nikola Jokic, is still going to be so good that you can, like, this is part of it, is you can actually, like, you can afford to not have Will on until the last 3 minutes of the half, because Nikola is going to carry that Facundo Campazzo unit in the middle of that second quarter or the fourth quarter. Like, Jokic will bring everybody up, and you're going to win those Jokic minutes. Like, more times than not, you're going to win those Jokic minutes. And so you can afford to do this. But his rotations, I thought, were really creative. Like, he mixed and matched. Like, he was trying different. And yeah, some of it's experimentation, but it was also like, okay, we're going to do this, and then we'll rotate this guy in. Let's get Aaron in with Will and these guys. Okay, Aaron's out. Let's put MPJ in. Like, it was in both games, really. The second one, I think, a little bit less so, because he was mostly just trying to be, like, cautious of the back-to-back. But in general, like, I think the rotations were creative, and it had great results. It had phenomenal results. Like, this is what they needed, was they needed to stagger the starters, and Malone figured out a good way to do it. And by the way, did it in such a way that when I was looking at the minutes, Will wound up, I think, with 27 in the win on Monday. If he played the last 5 minutes, he still comes in at 32 for the game.
Right.
So even if he, like, you look at those totals with the blowout, but Will played most of the third quarter anyway. So even if Will had played a normal rotation, Will having played the most minutes, Will still winds up sub 35. Like, that was my concern. Like, staggering means more minutes. How are you going to do this? But he did it in such a way he was able to stagger Barton, get great production on the second unit with Will, and be able to keep him under 35 minutes.
I think you also have to point out just how anomalous these two groups are for Denver. This wouldn't be such a big deal if your starting group wasn't this good. I mean, their knockout punch with that 5-man lineup is phenomenal. It's one of the best in all of the NBA. And the second unit with an all bench is one of the worst lineups in all of the NBA. So it's a little bit unique. If he had an average bench and this great one, you'd say, all right, average bench, sometimes they lose, sometimes they win, whatever. That second unit was losing every single game by such a large margin that it was starting to cancel out all the work the better lineup has done. So it's a little bit anomalous. Malone quickly found this out. I mean, like, we complain because Denver did lose 2 games in a row, and you can always play revisionist history and say maybe they wouldn't have won both or lost both of them. But the fact of the matter is, 4 games into the season, Malone made an adjustment, and that's actually, I think, the appropriate speed for a coach to make an adjustment. Not reactionary, not knee-jerk, but also not so slow and stubborn. So I think we're at the point we're at now. I hope it's a non-story going forward. I think it will be, because I do think, and we'll probably talk about this more in the second, and we talk about the second game, but I do think Denver is landing on more or less the rotation they're probably going to succeed with for the time being. But to me, Matt, the storyline, and I'll put the caveat in here that Dallas was on a second night of a back-to-back, whatever. Like, they're tired. They didn't play that great. Denver's supposed to win. They were rested. But Aaron Gordon and the job he did on Luka Doncic. I know you've heard stories about this. When they got him, it was the thing, like, I would talk to all the different people in the front office or coach or whatever, and just say, like, tell me about Aaron Gordon. What do you see? They say, oh, great defender. I don't think people know how a good defender is, and you should see him on Luka Doncic. That's what they would always say. Watch him, how he guards Luka. He guards Luka really well, one of the best in the NBA at guarding him. And we didn't get to see it last year. We did see it. And again, Luka was a little tired. Second night of back-to-back, whatever. I just watched Jokic go 2 back-to-backs in a row and put up 30 points and 20 rebounds. But Luka was tired. But I thought Aaron Gordon lived up to all of the hype in his ability to defend him. And just, it's now become a trend. We've seen it with Bogdanovich. We've seen it with Luka Doncic. And we saw it again even in that last game. So That to me is the big storyline. Aaron Gordon is really fitting in on this team and his defensive impact. Denver's the third best defense in the NBA. I think he deserves a large percentage of the credit for that.
13 points on 6 of 9 shooting, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block for Aaron in the game on Friday night, that with a plus 24, hefty plus 24. Joker with just 11, 16, and 8. Didn't have to do much in that Dallas game.
Scoring-wise, he didn't have to do much. I thought Jokic was great in this game. Like, here's the thing I joked about. Jokic was coming off of injury, and I joked that he was told, coach, let me play. I won't go in the paint. Like, I'll just play outside the whole game, and he did. Yeah. He had a bit of a throwback Jokic game where the scoring was clearly not an emphasis, but the defense, the rebounding, the passing was there, and he just was in control of it.
The big storyline for me was that Will Barton was sublime. Like Will Barton, I thought it was just absolutely sublime in that game. Look, in 27 minutes, 17 points on 7 of 12 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3, 5 boards, 6 assists. There's the assist that he's been looking for. He was just terrific. He paced that second unit. He played, he got downhill. Like Will's, that back-to-back set was one of the best, I think, back-to-back sets I've seen from Will in a Nuggets uniform. No kidding. Like he was terrific in both games.
So good right now.
Yeah. One other thing from that game I thought was really great and interesting was, so Jokic picks up his 4th foul with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. Point. And I was like, well, okay, here we go. The bench is going to have to come in. And now all this good karma.
Not even the bench. Not even the bench had to come in. Just Jokic had to go out.
Yeah, just Jokic had to go out. And so I was like, okay, here we go. And then I just see he's at the free throw line. I was like, what? Like, what? He's not subbing him. And
let me ask you this though: were you at the time thinking he should be subbed out?
Yes, I am the opposite on this than everybody else. Like, crazy. I am the one that is like, I do not want to, like, you can pull off things in the last 3 minutes because I see it time and time again. And I think especially with Joker, I would say, like, I don't trust him not to pick up another foul given his penchant for,
Well, he was heated. He was definitely, I would say, throwing a fit at that point. And to be fair, that third foul, I thought the first, second, and fourth ones, like, whatever. But that third foul where it looked like Michael Porter was the one that fouled him and they called it on Jokic. And I thought that was the one where I was like, oh, man, this might come back. I thought Malone should have challenged that one. He ended up challenging the fourth one, which was like, what are you challenging? He fouled him. What's going on here? So you got in trouble there. But that's the only point I will sort of allow is that Jokic did seem like the type of guy that was about to give a take foul. Like he just was so frustrated.
So I mean, like I asked
Malone him out for a minute, but there's no way in my mind Denver wins that game if they subbed him out at that moment. It was like a 7-point game. It wasn't that much of a lead.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. That was like, it really was a turning point because after that, like I asked Malone and he said that Joker came over and told him, hey, keep me in. I'm not gonna pick up another one. And Malone said he's played the game enough now. He knows how not to. Like he knows how to not pick up another foul. And like that level of trust is exceptional. Yeah. And like I will say this too. If I'm Jason Kidd, God forbid, like I am livid with my team. He's got 4 fouls, and Jokic is like retreat, like he's backing up under the basket, past the cameras, up the stairs, up to where altitude holds their in-game coverage. That's how Jokic is dropping after playing at the level for most of that game. He starts dropping because he has to. He's like, I can't pick up a foul, so I'm dropping back. And the Mavericks are just like, well, what if we take this like semi-contested, like what if we just over dribble and then take like a semi-contested 18-footer? And it's just like, I mean, it was mind-blowing what they were doing. Their entire approach was awful. And they unraveled. Like
they put Boban in. They put Boban in, and I thought that was a really smart move because, Boban does draw a lot of fouls. So I thought that
Malone
might be
Hold on, hang on a second. Sorry to interrupt you. Malone told him, he said, they're going to put Boban in, and they're going to try and get you in foul trouble. So you're going to have to be careful. Like, it was really, like, I understand that seems really obvious. It's not. They don't play Boban, like, every game. Like, Boban is very much like only in specific situations. So the fact that Malone was like, no, like they're going to do this. They're absolutely going to do this, and told him, and like they were still fine. They still made it okay.
Yeah. And then to your point though, that was the turning point because it was still a game. And 6 minutes later, it was no longer a game. The game was over, and it was in the bag, and it was a really cool decision. It was a great game. The Nuggets looked phenomenal. I mean, defensively, the team that might have been their best. It's hard to say because they've had a lot of good ones, but that might have been their best defensive game that I've seen from this, at least this year, and maybe really from this iteration of the Nuggets. They were locked in. Aaron Gordon, obviously the big key of that, and it was. I thought it was a really good win. Yes, they were supposed to win. Yes, it was Dallas on a second night of a back-to-back, but they made it. They got the rest they needed on the front end of their own back-to-back, and they also just didn't leave it to chance. They put that game away.
Are you still with me?
Yeah. I don't know how to pause the stream, so you got to just what are you looking for? Ad reads?
No, it's not that. I've pushed something on my computer and now I can't get back to Chrome. Everything's invisible. Whoopsie. Come on. Let me back in. It's not showing up in Finder either. I'm just like, it's just like there's these. I have 4 tabs that are just like invisible. Did I hide it?
Well, maybe this one won't go on video or something. I don't know.
I can edit it out.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. I just pushed I pushed a button and I'm not trying to figure it out. What the fuck? Let me have it.
Because if I pause it, it's going to end up creating a chaos.
Yeah, just run it and then edit this out if you don't mind. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fix this. I may have to restart Chrome because I can't get back. I cannot get Chrome to come up.
It just disappeared?
Yeah, like it literally just like disappeared.
And you can't do the search button for Chrome? The little search.
No, like I have it on my taskbar. And I hit it and unhit it, and it's still showing me in the tabs like that I've got it, but it's not registering it at all. Like it's just not. Hang on, I got an idea. Maybe if I do this, they're invisible. Like they're literally invisible because when I click on it, I can't access anything behind it. This is so weird. Oh my god!
So Chrome disappeared.
What did I do?
Is it the icon that's not there?
No, the icon's there. The actual program does not show. Bring off screen window. Yeah, I'm gonna have to restart Chrome. Sorry, give me a second.
Okay. Did you find it?
Yeah, I just relaunched it. It was fine.
Okay.
I'll edit the audio on this because I fucked that up.
You sure? I mean, it should be
I'll do it
easy
for
because
you.
we went quiet for so long.
Yeah, it's fine. Find it. It's fine. I'll do the edit tonight. All right, let me pull up the ads and then we'll do ads and we'll go from there. All right, let's take a break and when we come back, Adam and I will talk about the other back-to-back game versus the Minnesota Timberwolves and another sensational performance from Nikola Jokic. We'll do that when we come back on Locked On Nuggets. But first, do want to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Okay. Thanks to the Great Resignation, the job market's filled with once-in-a-generation talent. So how is your organization going to put together an all-star team? Your front office needs an all-star roster. That's why you need Indeed. They're a hiring partner that gets what you really want, a short list of quality candidates as fast as possible, because you can do it all: attract, interview, and hire all at Indeed. Indeed's an unbelievable, powerful hiring partner when you can get everything that you need all in one place. Don't struggle on your own to find quality candidates. Indeed can help you hire the right people right now. Indeed partners with you on every step of the hiring process, so you can find talent with the skills you need through tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, as soon as you sponsor a post, you get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description, and you can even invite them to apply right away. And with Indeed Instant Match, over 90% of employers get quality candidates as soon as they sponsor their job post, according to Indeed data. Candidates you invite to apply through Instant Match are 3 times more likely to apply to your job than those who only see it in search, according to Indeed data. Get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. Get a $75 credit at Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Offer valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. We're also brought to you today by DirecTV Stream. So you want to watch the Nuggets? You're going to need DirecTV. You want to watch the Nuggets? You want to get everything that you need in one place? You can do that with DirecTV. I want to tell you about a simple way to get all the entertainment you love without the hassle. DirecTV Stream brings live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. No more juggling remotes and no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part, there's no annual contract. Get rid of the clutter and the confusion and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That's directtv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for making this part of your day. Matt Moore and Adam Mares going through the back-to-back that the Nuggets just went through. Thanks for making Locked On your first listen each and every day. We're free and we're available on all platforms. All right, Adam. So the second game was a mite bit different than that first game of the back-to-back. They go into Minnesota, and I believe it was Brendan Vogt that dropped the Keystone Cops reference that Malone loves so much. They looked just ragged. They looked like a team on a back-to-back that got in at 4 a.m. I will tell you, I was shocked when the Nuggets were dogs in this game. I was very surprised that Denver was an underdog in this game, even with the back-to-back. Especially, I was, I didn't really think I was going to bet it, but when the Nuggets were dogs, I was like, okay, because like I know how they perform in these kind of spots, especially Nikola Jokic, who, okay, so he suffers a knee contusion. He's questionable to play on Friday. He plays Friday. He goes out on Saturday. He plays 36 minutes and 40 seconds, 26 points, 10 of 23 from the field, 19 boards, 7 assists, does have 7 turnovers, 3 blocks, including some absolutely phenomenal defense on one Karl Anthony Towns. Boy, those two seem to have a healthy dislike of one another. What was your takeaway from the Wolves game?
I mean, that was a really impressive win, and it was impressive because of how ugly it was. Like, Denver did not play well. The ball did not bounce their way. They clearly did. Malone never uses excuses. But in the pregame, Matt, I don't know if you were in on the pregame for that one. He did mention, he said, we didn't get into our hotel till 4:30 in the morning or something like that. Like somebody asked him about the key, and he goes, well, we didn't get to our hotel till 4:30 in the morning, so who knows, or something like that. Like, he was real grouchy, and I thought, like, oh no, Denver's about to get ran, because that was a definite, like, the way he said it, you knew it was an anomalous arrival at their hotel. They got there like way too late. So I thought that was a fantastic win. Like, when you win because player X steps up, or, you got hot, or this thing happened and this guy got in foul trouble, whatever it is, like, that happens a lot. And you just have talent. And you say, okay, it's a talented team. When nothing goes right, but you still manage to win against a team that is extremely motivated to beat you, that, to me, I thought that was a fantastic Nuggets win, an A+ win, and I couldn't be more impressed with the way they gutted that one out.
I want to shout out, because there's certain guys that play well in both sets. So Monte Morris goes 4 of 6 in the win over the Mavericks.
Yep.
He goes 7 of 14 for 16 points in the win over the Wolves, and he was instrumental in the comeback after the Wolves started to get away. That he was hitting pull-up jumpers, and those were key. 5 assists, just 1 turnover for Monte.
Quick note on him. Quick note on him that he clearly had a very tough summer. Had to rest, had that knee thing. Didn't sound like he played a whole lot. I thought he came into training camp looking just a little puffy. And I think that it took him 6 weeks to get in game shape. Like, I think we saw this in the preseason. He didn't look very good. We saw this in the first few games. He didn't look very good, but he slowly got better each game. And I think Monte might be back. And that's a huge thing for Denver, by the way, having him back.
Yeah. Aaron and Will were fantastic in the win over Dallas, but on Saturday, like, Aaron still played great defense and tried to make plays, but 4 of 10, missed some layups. Will goes 3 of 10. We'll talk about the block in a minute, but like, offensively, they weren't there. The Nuggets shot 24%, 9 of 37 from 3, and they won this game. They shot 41% from the field, and they won this game. By the way, key stat, as you know, I'm going to mention, despite all those turnover problems in the beginning, 2 fewer turnovers. Nuggets turn the ball over less than their opponent, and they win. All right, Adam, we've buried the lead enough. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Here are the plus minuses for the Denver bench.
This. Oh man, I thought we were gonna have fun.
No, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
Wait. PJ Dozier minus 15. Facundo Campazzo minus 24. JaMychal Green minus 15. Jeff Green minus 15. Austin Rivers minus 9. Yeah. Bones Highland plus 10. 8 points, 3 of 7 shooting, 3 assists, including an absolutely phenomenal pass to Aaron Gordon for a lob. The energy was evident, but it's not just the energy. Like, it's not just the energy. The team freaking makes sense with Bones Highland out there. Like, it just makes sense.
Yes and no. I just want to make this very well. No, I just want to make this very important point, because I don't want to put but my fear, Matt, is I don't want to put pressure on him to do something that nobody can do. He can't save the bench lineup. People got mad at me. I put this on Twitter. He cannot save an all bench lineup. That is not the solution, that you just swap him out. Denver did 2 things in this game. They played Bones Highland, but they also staggered very heavily. Yeah. Bones Highland played half with the bench, half with the starters, which I think is brilliant, because I think Bones Highland might be a Jokic guy. And also because Bones Highland, when he plays alongside Nikola Jokic, doesn't have to do everything. He gets to pick his spots when to do it. So he plays with the bench alongside Michael Porter and Will Barton, and he plays with the starters a little bit alongside, at least in this game, PJ Dozier and Facu Campazzo, and it works. It's like a perfect blend. I think it makes all of these like staggered lineups make a lot more sense. And he was fantastic. I mean, he really was good. And what I liked about it was he was good, not because he hit shots, although he did hit 2 very, very big 3-pointers, but just because he didn't make the rookie, he didn't kill you in the ways you worry a rookie might. And he just seems to be able to fit with whatever the flow of the offense is. So he was great. He absolutely is a story. I just don't want to frame it as, oh, everything's solved. Just swap him for Rivers or Facu or whatever, and now everything's solved, because I don't think that's fair to him. And I also don't think it addresses the problem.
I agree. I agree with that. I will say, like, Bones ran a pick and pop with JaMychal Green, and it was seamless. Like, he just knows, like, he knows how to run an offense. Like, he just knows how to run specific mechanisms.
I don't know. Let me just I want to put another caveat. The more I watch him, the more I think. I don't know if he is like a great offensive floor general. I think he's a great pick and roll player, and that's
not 60, yet. Yeah.
That's 60% of NBA offense is pick and roll, so it's a big part of it. But I don't. Yeah. We have to see all the other parts, because there was a couple times in that game even where I was like, "Oof, he doesn't know where he's supposed to be now, or he cuts to the wrong spot."
Yeah, no, like,
pick and roll, elite.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say here is with that second unit, I don't think you need to be a complex floor general. I think you need to be able to just run pick and roll. You just need to be able to run pick and roll. Like, that's a basic offense. Pick and roll with some shooters. That makes sense. It's not going to be a mess the way it is with all the other guards.
Right.
I'll also say this. You mentioned that you think Bones Highland might be a Jokic player. That stood out to me. Yep. I noted it on Twitter that the level to which he just like, and like, you could tell that Jokic is like, okay, like, oh, you know what you're doing. Oh, here,
right.
Like here, because you know what you're doing.
And are capable of doing it. Like, I honestly think Facu knows what to do. He just can't do it.
As a comparison point, Michael Porter Jr. is like an infinitely more talented player than Bones. He just is. He's taller. I think as good as a shooter as Bones may wind up being in this league, I think MPJ over time will wind up being a better one. Just like phenomenal individual scoring talent. Bones understands all the stuff that is frustrating about where MPJ's at right now and where he was frustrating about him early last season. Like everything that's clunky, everything that's awkward, nothing is awkward or uncomfortable with Bones outside of a few, like you mentioned, the possessions where he's like, oh no, I'm not supposed to be here. So just in general, I'll tell you this. So you're like, nothing can save that bench lineup. The difference, though, I would think here is it's fine if you lose the bench lineup by 5 points.
Oh, totally. Yeah, totally.
It's not fine if you lose the bench lineup by
25 points.
By 25 points. Like, I looked it up today because I was curious. The worst net rating on the Denver Nuggets is JaMychal Green, which most people will be like, of course it is. He's been terrible.
Yeah, been bad. And by the way, you mentioned those plus minuses. His minus 15 was in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
That was a rough game for him.
But I'll also say this. The only reason that his is the worst and not Facu Campazzo is because Campazzo has minutes with Joker. JaMychal has not spent a single minute on the floor with Joker this season. So they want to play like Joker's like, I want to play with that guy for the rest of my life. Well,
I feel like
too bad.
It's weird that they haven't played a single minute. I feel like I saw it, but maybe that was preseason. I'm thinking
that's what NBA.com had me track that. That's just
I saw that today.
So I'll just say this, that to me, I will say this. I think JaMychal Green will look better next to Bones Highland than he will next to Facu Campazzo. I just do. I think he will. I think having an actual threat off the dribble will create.
There's no look. There's no question that Denver's backcourt trio of PJ Dozier, Austin Rivers, Facu Campazzo is not it. I think like assigning where the interesting question is who gets cut from the rotation, because Denver won that game, but they still played everybody. It was an 11-man rotation, which is not tenable, I don't think, going forward.
I mean, Austin hit the big three in the Mavericks game, which was first half. Like that was that felt like a big shot at the time. It was a blowout, so whatever.
He had a big shot in the Minnesota game too. He had a big three.
Yeah. But I think Austin is just like very obviously like the easiest. Like I think a lot of this it's better couched in terms of what's their investment level in the various players. I think they're reasonably invested in PJ Dozier. And I will say I thought PJ was really good in the Dallas game. Like
in the Dallas game, yeah, he was really bad in the Minnesota one.
Yeah, he was really bad in the Minnesota one. So, I want to like to me, like they won't. I think we're still going to be in the situation where it's like Facu and Bones are probably like there's like a little bit of tension there because it started with the fans is like, why isn't he playing? And now because we saw this with MPJ. It was like, why isn't he playing? Okay, he's playing. Why isn't he playing more? Okay, why isn't he starting? Like that's where Bones is on the track for. But look, as long as they can, I mean, these 2 games prove it. As long as your bench is not absolutely god awful,
right?
The Nuggets are going to win a ton of games. They're without Jamal Murray, and they're still just like, this is one of the best starting lineups in basketball.
This is what's funny about this question, and who knows if everybody's healthy. What did you have something else you wanted to add there?
No, go ahead.
Oh, here's what's interesting about this, Matt. Like Jamal Murray is coming back at some point. That solves part of this. Like we're asking, is it Facu? Is it Rivers? All right, it might be neither. If you add Bones Highland and Jamal Murray to the mix, now you have your 10-man rotation, and I think it actually ends up making sense. Monte and Bones, I think, is a good combo off of a bench with PJ Dozier. I think that makes sense to me. So now the question just becomes, how do you get from here to there? What is the guy? And I think that Denver probably has to go with a 9-man rotation. I don't think 11 or 10 is the right number. You stagger those lineups, and this is why I made such an emphasis about Bones not being a savior of the bench. It's because I think Denver's best bet is to have Bones play as much with Jokic and Aaron Gordon in particular as it is to have him play with JaMychal Green and Jeff Green, because I just think that those blends are the way to go for this.
Before we take a break, the block by Barton. Oh boy,
incredible!
Just like. When I watched it, I rewatched it about 5 times, and I was like, he's there, but his closing speed, and to me, like a lot of it is the celebration afterwards. Honestly,
sure,
is like, again, Will cares so much, and Will gives a ton to the game. Like Will Barton gives a ton to the game of basketball, and he loves basketball, and that. Yeah. There's all these things that, and I will say this, I think the tide is starting to turn a little bit in terms of public perception of Will. The fact that he re-signed the fact that like he's been there and he's doing these kind of things, like I think it's starting to be like, well, Barton's pretty good. Like, hey, who knew? But yeah, awesome game. Again, the Nuggets defense continues to be surprisingly, stunningly good, which is really surprising because again, their bench defensive rating is absolutely atrocious.
Somebody showed something about Jokic having the number one in defensive rating in the NBA or something like that, and I was like, oh, let's go.
Yeah, it's a little wild. And he played, man. I'll also say this, like, I could watch him and Karl Anthony Towns battle all day, every day. I would
Towns, this was such a hilarious game. Like, it's funny. So Denver hasn't lost, I believe. Have they not lost since game 82? Was that the last loss?
I don't believe so.
Because it's 12 in a row. That's a lot in a row. But so I don't, maybe there was one or two or something since then, but I don't think so. But I got to give a shout out to Miroslav. Everybody knows Miroslav, our Serbian correspondent over at DNVR, because he had this great point. The 76ers lose Ben Simmons, or they just don't have him. 26th or something like that defensive rating so far out the gate. The Nuggets add Eric Gordon, 3rd defensive rating. My theory, Matt, about center defense being way overrated in terms of people don't understand all the little levers that go into it. I think it's such a thing, and it's interesting. We'll see. It's only 6 games. I don't want to take a full victory lap on it, but it's just something to kind of watch. Denver has some very good perimeter defense this year relative to years past, and all of a sudden Jokic looks like a great player. I'm curious about it.
12 in a row. Just looked it up. It's 12 in a row. They have not lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves since game 82.
That's incredible, man.
That break, we'll come back. We'll talk. We're going to do lightning round on the players in the rotation. We'll do that when we come back.
I got a fire take, by the way, coming up here when we get to Michael Porter. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. We'll do that when we come back. But first, I have a fire take about Built Bar, which is that it's the best protein bar on the market. Did you know it's got so many delicious flavors? There's something for everybody. Everybody's got their own favorite. Like for me, my favorite is obviously salted caramel. Just cannot get enough of salted caramel. Coconut, cherry barcia, raspberry, mint brownie, strawberry, orange, German chocolate. If you don't want to choose, you can get a mix box. It's got 2 of each of the 9 flavors. They're the best tasting, but they're also healthy too. You get 17 to 18 grams of protein, maxing out at 180 calories, only 4 to 5 grams of sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Amazing flavors, all tasty and all healthy. Go to Built.com and use promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get 15% off your first order. Use promo code LOCKEDON for 15% off at Built.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for making Locked On Nuggets your first listen each and every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Fantasy Basketball, where Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 daily fantasy basketball show on the planet. It's free, and it's available on all platforms. Final segment, lightning round time. Adam, let's start. I want to start right with the hot. I don't want to wait. I can't stand waiting. We're going to do about 30 seconds each on each of the players in the rotation. Michael Porter Jr., shoot.
Well, he's not been good. I mean, we can get out just the basics.
That's the fire take. He's not been good. That's your lightning hot take.
Has anybody else noticed this? Is it just me? So Michael Porter's obviously having a disastrous start here, especially as a scorer. But here's what I'm wondering. Have you looked at 3-point percentage over the last decade? This year, I think the worst since I can't remember how far, 2006 or something like that. People are not shooting the 3 well.
As an under-better, I can tell you I've noticed.
So, yeah, scoring in general is down. You got foul rates are down. All of these different factors. And the game, if we just are watching, is getting more physical. I wonder if Michael Porter is struggling with this at all. We know that in the playoffs, the game gets a little more physical. Guys get into him. And he struggled with that. I wonder if that's part of what's going on here is he's not getting open shots. He's not finding openings. And I wonder if it's the physicality of the game that is causing him. On the other hand, Jokic is off to this incredible start. We talk about how he looks better, this or that. I wonder if he's a guy that just benefits. Like, oh, we're calling fewer things out on the perimeter. Sweet. I love when guys get physical with me. So I wonder if there's a little bit of this. The guys that are off to hot starts right now are guys that handle physicality better.
So the league average for field goal percentage is down by roughly 2.2 percentage points. It's 44.5 versus 46.6 last year. 3-point rate. This is the lowest 3-point rate. Now, Seth Partnow has been hammering me with this, that you need to note that the league often starts off slow and warms up. But even adjusted for that, this is the lowest 3-point rate currently. I am looking since. Yeah, I'm going back to 1990. Nope, what got 1999.
Wow.
This is the lowest 3-point season.
A lockout year.
We're at 34% from 3 this season. It's been
crazy.
Absolutely terrible shooting. The
But
physicality.
I do think it has something to do with that part. Guys getting just a little bit less open because defenders are a little bit less worried about these BS fouls.
Yeah, and I'll say this: like they were physical with MPJ in the Minnesota game, and he disengaged a little bit. Like he just disengaged. I asked Malone on Saturday or Friday night because I had noticed, like, you know what, MPJ's not making mistakes defensively. And so I asked Malone, I was like, look, Michael's struggling offensively, but he hasn't seemed to have made as many mistakes defensively. Do you agree with that assessment? He's like, yeah, like he's given effort, and that's going to make up for a lot. Like he hasn't, he's given what he needs to on the defensive end. And once he starts hitting shots, and we know he will, it's going to be great. So it sounded very much like I will say, also watching the Mavericks game, Malone was like in MPJ's ear, not in a bad way, and like a supportive way every time he came off the court, like pat on the butt, hey, good job, like stay with it. Like it seems like they may have shifted from stick to carrot with MPJ again. That they may be like translating to, okay, I've ridden him too hard, and now I got to kind of like rebuild the confidence a little bit. So,
okay.
A little bit there. Just, I will say, I posted this one on Twitter, and everybody was like, but he could make that shot. He took a pull-up 3 in the Minnesota game. It wasn't that it was a pull-up 3. I don't mind MPJ taking pull-up 3s. MPJ is more than authorized to take Puget 3s. That's fine. He took a Puget 3 with a 3-on-2. Like, he had wings. He had guys. He had advantage. The defenders were backpedaling. And he took a 3-on-2, and he took a Puget 3. Like,
I don't mind it. You mind those way more than I do. I just don't mind them.
Why?
Because for one, he's a career 42.5% 3-point shooter. And there's just such a value to if you can establish yourself as a guy that makes people panic in transition. Steph Curry does that. Like Steph Curry makes entire defenses freak out and do dumb things in transition because they're just so afraid of him getting a pull-up 3.
But
so
in that in a back and forth ugly defensive game on a back-to-back that you're like scrapping through, like it was.
Look, I just don't mind it. I think it's the best version of Denver has Michael Porter with that green light because teams will start to heat seek him. And I think they already do this, by the way. He's just in a 6-game shooting slump, and maybe there is something else going on. I don't know. But teams already do this where they just overcompensate for him, and that's just so valuable. I mean, I think there's a reason that even last year, even when he wasn't playing well as an offensive player last year, like at the start, the Jokic and MPJ lineups were always killer. In part because he was just like he occupies one defender at all times. You let Jokic play 4-on-4, and that's Jokic is great at that. So I don't mind him. Like, look, if he was doing this, he does this for like 20 more games and can't hit anything. Like, okay, sure, there's going to be a point where you say no to this, but to me, he has 2 years of being one of the best volume 3-point shooters in the NBA, and that transition 3-point threat is just so valuable.
He's got to have some level of confidence attacking the rim. I just think that he needs like a little bit of confidence attacking the rim. I get it. I see what you're saying. I didn't like it because it was 3-on-2. I don't like it because like it would not be nice to see him get like a layup on his own at some point in the ever. But
nobody ever attacks. So it's not just him. Nobody ever attacks the basket in transition now. Honestly,
no, like it's lame. It's really
3-on-1s, 3-on-1s, and 2 guys will go to the corners. It's really weird.
Really bad.
It's pretty.
Aaron Gordon does. I'll say that. Aaron Gordon is looking for the lob. I'll say that. Aaron Gordon.
Well, we can move to Aaron Gordon now. One thing about Aaron Gordon, I will say, one of my biggest fears with him, and it was even true like early on in the season, maybe even in the preseason. What did we hear? Oh, he's really confident with his shot right now. It's like, I don't know if I like that. He hasn't taken a lot of threes. He really hasn't settled for a lot of threes. I don't know what his total number of 3-pointers is this year, but I would guess it's it's fairly low. So. You're right. For him, I think he has a proper mind frame about where his 3-point shot's supposed to be. He's only taken 14. He's only made 3, but 14 in 6 games, that's not bad. I'm okay with 2.5.
55% from the field is the number that I keyed in on.
Yeah,
that's
huge.
That's what you want to see, right? Is like, you want him to space the floor. I get it, but he's shooting 66% on threes. That's by far a career high.
He spaces the floor from the inside, though. Like I've said this all the time. Like it's funny. He has One of the most famous plays from the Mavericks game was, I don't know if you saw this clip on Twitter, somebody tweeted it out, but it's Jokic pointing for him to go down to the dunker, and he's saying, go, it's right before the half, and he's basically telling him, just sit right there, and then he creates a lob for him. And like, to his credit, I do think that he's just like, yeah, I'm in inside spacer now.
Yeah, and I will say this too. He spaces a little bit in terms of if he operates in the baseline, what I call the Ibaka spot, that baseline, just short range, not quite to mid, like not like 18, but like 5 to 10 feet. If he spaces there, you have to stay home because he's so quick and explosive. If he catches, that's a dunk. Like if he catches
a no dribble catch, you catch it on the move, it's a dunk.
Yep. So he's got a little bit of spacing that way too.
Hold up a second, real quick on this same point. From 0 to 3 feet this season, it's a small sample size, but he's shooting 77%. That would be a career high. Percentage from 0 to 3 feet, the percentage of his shots, he's taking 45% of his shots from that zone. That's the highest since his sophomore season. So his shot profile does look different through 6 games than it has in any other point of his career other than his rookie season. So maybe, just maybe, there is something to this change of mind frame.
Will Barton, what do you got?
By far the best basketball of his career so far. By far. Huge impact defensively, huge impact offensively, right mind frame, confidence to take tough shots. He's taken some crazy threes and made them that you're not crazy, just crazy as in like if Jamal Murray took it, you would be like, okay, that's cool. He's been taking them. I mean, and making them and knocking them down. He gets yoke. There's a lot of things. Some of this will be up on the list tomorrow for thednvr.com, but there's some just chemistry between him and Yoke where they just do things where they both see what's about to happen and the defense has no clue. He surpassed my expectations, and I predicted he would have a career year.
Yeah, he's been absolutely phenomenal. Just hope this doesn't take too much out of him because they're asking a lot of him, but minutes load's been okay. You want to make sure that you keep it under wraps, but in general, been great.
He is at 32 minutes per game, which is more than last year's 31 minutes per game for whatever it's worth.
Do we need to do a Jokic? I don't know. Do we like?
Yeah.
Let me go first.
Okay.
On Friday Futures, the NBA actually has a new site called NBA Bet. You can go to it. It's nba.com/NBA Bet. They partner with the Action Network, so I'm creating a lot of the content over there, including some video content coming later this week. Every Friday I'm putting in like plays that I'm actually adding to as the season goes on in terms of futures. I bet Nikola Jokic to win MVP at plus 1,600 because we are right back where we were last year. He's been the most impactful player in basketball. Like, don't know what else to do here. He's been absolutely amazing. I think Jokic has to be like, he's back on the conversation 100%.
I mean, there's just no question about it. He's playing incredible basketball right now. I'm with you. Like, how could he not be one of like, how could he not be like top 2 or 3? I know it's really early, but top 2 or 3 just right now on that list. Oh man, I was trying to look up and see. Man, I don't have. Well, here, let me see here. How many players have ever had? He's averaging right now 0.358 win shares per 48 minutes. Win shares, by the way, very good at predicting the MVP. Like generally, the guy who wins the MVP is like top 1 or 2 in win shares. Jokic, it's early again. This number will likely come down. He hasn't really had a bad game just yet. On pace for the best win shares per 48 of all time. Like that's how good he's been right now. His box plus minus is the same thing, like up there. I think probably the best of all time. So he's been incredible, man. He just.
Do you remember how I was like his 3-point shot's probably going to regress? Yeah, he's shooting 42% from 3 this season.
So. Yeah, and it's low enough volume that because I've been noticing this like every game that goes up or down like 8%. So let's wait and see. But nonetheless, man, he's just so confident right now. The game is so easy to him. He's won Michael Porter getting hot and just being back like last year from the game just being so easy. The way he dominates right now, I really feel this. He's one Michael Porter away from this team just steamrolling right now because of how easy the game is for him. He just needs one elite shooter.
Monte Morris.
We talked about him a little bit earlier. Those are my thoughts. He started off a little slow. He's been getting better each game. This goes all the way back to the preseason where I feel like if you started with preseason game number 1 and you ended with the Minnesota game on Saturday, every single game he's gotten better. And I think he's now back to more or less what I expect of him. And I wonder too, even if a little bit of Michael Porter slow start has to do with some of the inconsistent point guard play. It's on Michael Porter. I'm not trying to put it on anybody else. But Monte Morris, I think, is more or less back, and that's a big thing for the Nuggets.
I'd like to see Monte adopt the Nash. That's the only thing that I think would be really good for his game is the pick and roll, dribble into the basket, come out the other side, turn around and hit the pull up. I think he's hit some of those
I've never really seen that. Yeah, from him. That's interesting.
Off of like random caroms. He'll grab an offensive rebound and just be like, "Oh, I'm open," and just pull up and hit. Or if there's like a breakdown in the play, he'll just be like, "Oh, there's nobody here. Okay, bam," and like knocks it down. I'd love to see him actually run the Nash because it's an easy way for him to generate space. Because like Nash used to do this when he was like, because teams respected him as a shooter enough to come up on him. If you dribble into the basket, they're basically just like, "Oh, he's just dribbling it out," and then they stop, and then you just turn around and you're like, "Okay."
So. One reason you don't see that very often, I think, is because him and Jokic actually have really good chemistry. And they usually, when you do that underneath the basket, it creates a switch. That's one of the reasons. They create switches so easy. Like Jokic is always getting the switch on Monte's guy.
Yeah. All right, JaMychal Green, real quick.
I mean, atrocious. He's been really bad. I don't know that it's necessarily his fault. That second unit just doesn't make sense. Is there anybody in the second unit that you think's been good? I mean, this is the weird thing. I think they've all been bad, and I don't think it's all of their faults. Don't Jeff Green? Who?
I think Jeff's been good.
He's had like 3 good games, 3 not good games. I mean, he's been okay. He's
shooting 21% from 3, so I don't have that to lock in on. I like the way that he attacked the rim in the Dallas game a lot. I will say that. Like, I really like the way that he attacked the Dallas game.
He's had. I think I would be curious if I go back and just kind of look at each game, but I think he's been about 3 and 3. Like 3 games where you're like, hey, that was a good one, or to great, and then you've had 3 where you're like, oh my god, like what's going on?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Dos Verdes Uno Bueno, but instead it's been Dos Verdes and Uno Bueno half the time. So that's not
exactly, because JaMychal hasn't really had. I think he had one game. He had one game that was his moment, but it's rough. That bench though, I can't judge any of them. Because I think that it's such a bad fit that they're all just looking bad. They're all bringing out the worst in each other in some ways.
Oh, I'm willing to judge some of them. I do think that JaMychal and Jeff need centers. I'll say that. Like Jeff can operate in stretches as small ball 5. And I think those are some of the good stretches that we've seen is when he's small ball 5 and they're attacking bigger lineups. But I'm not sure JaMychal operates well as a center. I just don't think. I think one of the reasons that those minutes were successful last year was because he was paired with Millsap a lot, and so. Paul's a little bit more stout, right? He's slower and, older, but he's still extremely, extremely strong. I just think they need a center. I will continue to say this. Like, I just think they need a big, and they just need one. They just need one more big. They just do. Whether it's Ignacio or whatever.
A rim roller.
They need a rim roller and a rim protector. Yeah. I'm genuinely curious in this question. Facundo Campazzo.
I mean, he's been terrible.
I know you
made this tough. You've talked about this. You made it tough because you made it a meme. But no, I mean, he has been terrible. I mean, I do think just based on some of the Twitter-ness, like I do think that maybe he's getting blamed a little bit for this second lineup. And I think some of this is he's the fall guy. He has the ball in his hands, but at the same time, he's been terrible. And he has the weaknesses he had last year. I don't think they're any different than they are this year. In fact, if anything, they're a little bit more pronounced because of the lineup he's in, and maybe even because there's a scouting report on him now that's like, hey, just trail him to the basket and then block his shot. So he's, there's really not a whole lot good to say about him other than his effort and energy on defense still makes an impact, but that's such a small thing considering everything else.
Yeah. PJ is the last one. We talked about Bones. We'll talk about more Bones when he plays more.
Pretty disappointed, to be honest. And again, I'm just it's so tough because we just went to Austin Rivers been disappointing. Facu's been disappointing. JaMychal Green's been disappointing. PJ Dozier, like that whole bench. And it makes me think, I don't think there's any, like any one guy or this, they're just all bringing out the worst in each other. Dozier, I would like to see Dozier in a different context. I'd like to see him a little bit more with Jokic again.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's hard though. Is it's just like it's like you'd like to see him with Jokic because he'll look good with Jokic, but it's also like, of course, he's gonna look good with Jokic. Everyone looks good with Jokic, right? So it's like,
but I think he might look especially good. This is why I agree. Because you have you have lineups that's Jokic and Bones, and then you give Aaron Gordon and Dozier out there. Like, I like that four. I like the way those four guys kind of connect together. And then I don't know if is Monte the last piece. I'm not sure. Like, but I just think it works. So
I'll say
I think Malone agrees, by the way, because we're starting to see it.
He's 6 of 14 on jumpers this year.
Yeah,
And
that's a great point.
That's good for confidence. Now, he's 1 of 4 on pull-ups. He did hit one versus the Mavericks, came off clean, pulled up, hit the jumper. Like, honestly, I'd like to see him shoot. I'll say this about PJ. He looks hesitant. I think he has a little bit of like with the bench, I don't think he knows what to do because who knows what to do.
Right.
And with the starters, he seems a little hesitant because he doesn't want to take shots away from where they need to go. And I think that like, look, if you come off the pick and they've dropped, you've got like, you need to shoot. This is the thing. Like, you need to shoot because if you shoot and you make that twice, they have to respect it. And even if they don't, keep punishing them with it. Like that's the thing is that threat matters. Like if they have to treat you as a threat, that matters. They're never, ever, 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 ever going to treat Facundo Campazzo as a threat in that situation.
Oh, and they can just block his shot so easily.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his numbers on Basketball Reference. From 3 to 10 feet, what would you guess PJ Dozier is shooting from 3 to 10 feet?
I would say like he's taking some bad, like 20.
So I think he's only taken 5 shots from there so far.
Yeah.
But he is 0 of 5 from 3 to 10 feet.
Yeah, they're all leaners. They're all leaners falling sideways because because the team is like they're spaced out and so they're covering the shooters. There's no cutter and the spacing is congested. Like it's not good in that set. Look, I'll say this again. I don't like the memification of it. I'm just trying to be serious. Like I understand why you say it's not one guy. I do. I genuinely think that unit because like. I've seen Jeff Green be a good NBA player for the last 7 years. I've seen JaMychal Green be a good NBA player for the last 6 years. I've seen.
Yeah, but you haven't seen them be good together, especially at the 4-5.
That's fine, but I also think that just have in these bench lineups, if you just have a pick and roll threat that is a guard that you are actually concerned about, that can be a threat where you're like, crap, I can't let him get downhill, and we have to watch out for the jumper. You don't need an elite weapon, just like a standard NBA quality point guard. Like Ish Smith.
Let me say this: you think so? Bones Highland, like, is he? If you swap him for Facu and everything else stays the same, hockey subs or whatever, like, does that lineup work?
I think that lineup goes to like a -3. Now, here's one of the questions. I understand why. Well, here's the big thing is like the reputation on that on my end is that the defense is actually the problem. Like statistically.
Okay.
Right? Like I this is not me like in terms of my interpretation of it. If we look at it from a metric standpoint, like what are the actual numbers? What do they say? Denver has the 29th ranked net rating. And they have the 29th ranked bench defensive rating at allowing 69 points per however many possessions. They cut it in half for the minutes. Offensively, they're 10th. So like it says that the bench is doing okay. Now those numbers can be wonky. I get how it feels, etc. I agree with that. But like if we like take the numbers and we just go, well, the defense is the problem, Bones isn't going to solve that. But I do think that he takes away some of the hurt because they will wind up like you could just trade buckets for a while. Trade buckets until Jokic gets back in, you kill them at the end. You know, I understand why we could disagree on this. Like, I think I get why you think that. And like, I'm open to being wrong. That it just is the combination of guys that it's like, you know, there's no rim threat. And that's bad for Facu. And it would be better if they just had a traditional rim threat. And then with like JaMychal, it would be better if they had like a big guard, like nobody matches together. I get it. I just think that if you swap Bones' minutes for Facundo Campazzo's, I do think that it's much closer to not being. I do not think that they're double-digit negative.
I think Bones would be an upgrade because he is a scoring threat, but I think that unit would be really bad. I think that unit is a lot. I think Rivers and Facu both are guys that you probably – actually, here's what I would say. I think you probably have to mix up 2 of the 3 between Jeff Green, JaMychal Green, Facu, and Rivers. Dozier, Dozier does have – he plays defense. He's not that high of a leverage guy there, but right. I don't think that you can have 2 centers that can't – like rebound or roll, and you can't have 2 guards that can't shoot or score at the rim.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow night with a recap after the first of 2 games. They got a duplex set out on Beale Street. They're playing the Memphis.
So weird.
Grizzlies.
Everybody's doing this. I thought it was really weird, but then I looked around at some of the schedules. Like the Lakers have Houston twice back to back, both in LA. Like everybody's kind of doing this. It's kind of weird.
They changed it this year. They were doing the home and home, and now they're doing the 2-game sets, home and away.
It's actually smarter for travel. It's actually smarter. It's a little lame.
It's easy. You just get to hang. Like they're hanging out in Memphis all week. They're walking in Memphis. So
it's kind of lame from a fan standpoint. Like I would rather you play Memphis and then you play them again in 3 weeks because it's just different. Like, okay, well, let's see how have the teams changed. So it's a little weird playing 2 in a row, but it does make logistical sense.
I love it. I think it's phenomenal. I think it allows for more game planning. I think it allows for more tension. I think it's great. The other thing I would say is whoever wins the first one, expect the other one to win the second. Now, Denver has controlled Memphis, and Memphis's defense is really bad right now. Like their defense is bad, and Adams has had a hard time with Yoke. So like
that's true.
Denver may sweep this set, but the trend has been whoever wins the first one loses the second one because they're a little bit more adjusted and they're pissed off because they just saw you and they're mad. But we'll see how it works out.
Lightning round for you real quick. Does Michael Porter break out of his slump in Memphis?
No.
All right. That's really it. Does Bones Highland play it in both games? Regular minutes, not garbage minutes?
Yes.
Does Austin Rivers?
No. I think he'll be out. Here's my take with the minutes on Bones is I kept saying he was going to play him and he didn't, and I said he was going to play him and he didn't, and I said he was going to play him and he didn't. Eventually I'm going to be right, so now I'm just hammering the same button because
that's a great strategy. Yeah.
Like the Cowboys have covered every game this season. They're going to not cover some points. So I'm just going to keep betting that the Cowboys will not cover. And then I actually haven't bet that, but that's going to be the approach. It's just like eventually I'm going to be right. I will say I didn't tell you about this. I made a nice $20 off of Ryan Blackburn at half when Bones didn't play of the Dallas game.
Oh,
I said $20 says Bones gets in the second half. And Ryan said, I'll take it. No garbage time. I was like, without garbage time, I won't take it. Because it was still a game at that point. And he was, and then
That's
Harrison,
right. At the end.
And I texted this to him and Harrison because I was trying to sucker in Harrison too. And Harrison's like, no bet. I'm not trying to predict anything Michael Malone's going to do here. And Ryan was like, all right, fine, I'll do it. Cause he was, he always wants to pin it on Malone. And so then Bones gets in garbage time. And I told him to keep the money because I was just going to keep doing this to him by suckering him in. But yeah, I think Bones plays in both games.
I think Will Barton in Memphis, he always plays well. So I'm curious. I think he has a strong one too. If Denver can get these 2 games in Memphis, I'll really start buying into them because they have done some things that have really been impressive. The defense first and foremost, but you get 2 road wins against a very good Memphis. I think Memphis is really good. I'll be impressed.
They're really good offensively, but defensively they are rough right now. It's bad. So we'll see how it goes. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Locked On Nuggets. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Spotify. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. I use Pocket Cast, really good podcast app. Check us out there. Check us out on Odyssey, the Odyssey app. We're on there too. Make sure to check us out on Locked On NBA. Adam is on Fridays. I'm on Thursdays. Great shows there. We'll be back tomorrow after the game. Thanks for joining us on Locked On Nuggets.